All right, can y'all hear me now? All right, cool. All right, so technical difficulties. Welcome to another episode of the Geeks Fiber podcast. I am your host, uh, Captain Mexico, so known as Mexico, and today we're going to be talking about docu series. I'm gonna be honest with everybody. I had a really rough day, and it kind of sucks right now. I stayed up late last night watching the Quiet on the Set documentary, and we're gonna talk about that today. But it's fucked up because I watched it last night and I tried to like keep track of everything that's going on it. All right. Oh wow, big bad Mama Wolf, welcome to the show. First time commenter. You. What is going on? Oh, we are also looking for guests. Whoever would like to come on and talk about it, because I can come on here and I can talk. I can talk about it for a bit. But I really, it works better when you do a podcast, when you do a show. It works better when you have a co-host. And Sonic's running late today, so if you are interested, you can come on. Let me know. Send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll send you the link to join. You don't really have to download anything. You don't have to do anything. You just have to follow the link. Works better on a computer, but it does work on a phone. I was, yeah, that's cool. That sucks. Okay, no, but yeah. So I was watching it last night, and I have to say it's. I knew it was. I kind of had an idea of what I was about to watch, what I was about to learn, and honestly, I was not prepared for half the shit that they talked about, and I do have some things to talk about, some things to say. I do have to put. So we're not going to do a lot of jokes on this show, on this episode. We're not going to do a lot of like our normal stick. So, but I do have to let everybody know, like, this is a mature audiences only podcast. The strong language and adult themes do apply. Not so much the sarcasm because we're not going to really do a lot of sarcasm. But if anybody's interested, is watching the show either live, this is only for the live crowd. Obviously, if you're watching the replay, because the replay does automatically live right away as soon as we go off the air. But yeah, this is going to be a mature. This is not going to be an easy episode to talk about. So just take that. Also, spoiler alert for the docu series. Yeah. So joining me is my co-host. He is the Texas Gaming Headshot. He is a up voice talent, and he runs a skinny, but we don't have a skinny today, I don't think. Keyblade Sonic.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late. I was doing a voiceover session that kind of went overboard, a little overtime.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, no, it's not really a skinny. We're just basically what I was going to talk about was pretty much going to be related to today, like our topics for today.
Right. Yeah, because this oh god, Hero, my dog's barking at he pretty much he lives in here now with me, and now whenever I close the door and he can't get in, he just starts barking until I let him in because he's spoiled. So this weekend was interesting because it was the release of the docu-series like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's in our subject line. Go ahead.
So this, I just want to give a bit of background on it too, because this premiered on Investigation Discovery. It actually premiered 2 weeks ago, actually. Not this past weekend, the weekend before that. Also, it was available on Max, and of course, with stuff like this got leaked out online. I was able to watch it online, all 4 episodes, so that's the way I was able to watch it. But I'm sure Goku brought it up. This is a pretty sensitive thing to talk about. Anybody out there, whoever just want to give a heads up, a little disclaimer. There could be some sensitive subjects. Just viewer discretion is advised. we try our best. We're gonna try our best not to joke too much about this because it's a really touchy subject, especially
Mhm.
for a lot of people who grew up watching some of these programs.
Uh, Also, like I said, a spoiler warning has been put into effect. Because if those of you that are planning on watching the series, there is something. So we kind of already knew something was up with
Yeah,
the because there was rumors and there was like
there was like a lot of like a little like coincidence, or there's like a moment. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. How was that allowed? You know what I mean? There was some moments where you would question a scene in one of the shows. You'd be like, is this? I was like, what is this? I was like, is this a little too? I don't know, a little touchy, I guess per se.
Mhm. uh I mean they talked about in the documentary in the docu-series. It's so hard to uh like separate the two. But they talked about like rumors and like information started leaking out in 2017
Mhm.
about like scandals and like
Yeah.
harassment and all kinds of shit. And
It was one of the things was from one of the actresses from Jeanette McCurdy, who played Sam. Like, she released a book, and like she was pretty much discussing her experiences with while doing some of these shows and programs and stuff. And there was a lot. It's really powerful. Like, if you actually read the book, there's actually an audio book for it. So if you want to
that
listen
she
to it,
reads, by the way, she
yeah,
reads the
she reads
audiobook.
it. So there's an audio book of it. It's on Audible. Anybody out there, if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can actually get a free audio book. So that's something you could recommend using your free book. Um, it's really powerful because for her, just knowing that like she could have just accept, because there is reports about like NDAs and hush money payments and all that stuff. And she said she pretty much told Nickelodeon, go fuck yourself. I'm not taking that. I'm gonna just tell my story. And it was really brave of her to say it.
We actually got some interesting comments.
Mhm. I was gonna address some of those comments like later on as we talk more about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to get
Yeah,
that
just
one
go
out
ahead.
of the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, we will address everybody's comments like we normally do. It's just going to be a little bit of a delay because. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's just put it out there. We had a different. We were actually discussing on what we were going to do for today's episode.
Hmm.
Ninja wanted to come on with her friend and discuss anime. Was it New Mexico or something like that?
Anime New Mexico, and then
Hmm.
also WeebCon is coming up this weekend.
It's next
Uh,
weekend.
no, it's this weekend.
Is it? Because I
Yeah,
thought it was
this
the same. Oh, that's
no.
right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of
Collecticon.
Collecticon.
Yeah,
Yes.
Collecticon's next week. If you want, we can save that for next Monday if you like.
Right. So Collecticon, I will
It's
be at
next.
Collecticon for half a day, and I will be doing the WrestleMania with Big City Wings the
Yeah,
second half of that day, 2 days in a row.
yeah. That's going to be a busy weekend for wrestling
Hmm.
fans and con goers. So
And then are still now we are officially on the road to Comic Palooza, the
mhm,
premier Comic Con, the premier comic book convention in Houston.
mhm.
So we do have to get that one out of the way. It is part of our obligation to promote Comic Palooza at the Georgia Brown Convention Center.
Yeah,
If you haven't already, we're not going to get into too much detail with that one. It's at comicpalooza.com. We don't know about our panel schedule yet or what's our status with them, but like I said, it is part of the deal we have. So we do have to mention that even their hashtags in our description. So that there's that. We really aren't going to promote anything right now. We're just going to talk about the docu-series because it is a sensitive subject.
mhm.
This is something we talked about last night. We were debating on what we were going to do. I had
Yeah,
heard about the docu-series. So I had seen memes about
yeah,
it,
mhm.
but then I saw a video like
Yeah,
about it. Like they were talking about we were on our way to see Ghostbusters, and like Zarek mentioned something about it, like, oh, like damn dude, like I can't believe what happened to Drake. And then he was talking about like this. So he kind of like, I guess he didn't get
gave
all
it.
the information.
Yeah, basically just gave like a small Cliff Notes version. But last night we were talking about this, and I said, if we're gonna do an episode about this, I recommended watching the whole documentary, because you got to go in there knowing about the whole the stuff, because sometimes there'll be people out there who would they just watch clips of it and they'd be like, they know, like, nah dude, there's more to this than what
Mhm.
you watching clips on YouTube or what people talk about on Facebook and stuff, because there's more into it. And watching all 4 episodes, it was really hard. You know, it was hard to watch it in one sitting for me personally. I had to like take a break every few minutes. I'm like, oh man, what the fuck,
I had
bro?
to I had cram it last night, bro. Like I
It's hard,
watched
yeah.
it. I know I missed a lot of information, but
Hmm.
like it changed. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, like I was watching the first 2 episodes and I was like, God damn, and I was like on my phone texting
Hmm.
because I was trying to get some information.
Yeah.
And like what really got my attention, and if you know, you know,
Hmm.
right? If you know, you know.
Hmm.
What got my attention was episode 3 halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
I was like,
Because
what?
yeah, and like we said, I guess we're gonna discuss each episode, or just basically discuss like the entire thing, but we're just gonna like break it down in a way where it's like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of we're gonna like cherry pick a bunch of the big stuff, and then also any small details. And here's another little spoiler regarding the documentary. There's things that are in there's a lot of incidents or stories that are not in the documentary, but that there has been told about it. Actually, recently, at the aftermath of it, there's a lot of like news stories and new reports after the documentary aired. So a lot of people have come forward. A lot of people have like gave their side of the story, have done a lot of things. So it's been a week already, and it's still the talk of the town in a way.
Right. I'm pretty sure Sonic's probably questioning why this is up, but we're gonna allow an open mic today for anyone that wants to come on the show and
Mhm.
talk about it.
Yeah,
The
but sorry, I just want to give a little thing. If you're gonna be on the show, I will. This is for me personally, not gonna like make it about. You have, if you at least watch the documentary, beyond like, because especially for a subject like this, we can't just like crack jokes and all that stuff. Like, you gotta have like a at least some knowledge about it.
Yeah, don't come on the show and be like, ah, shit, I heard about it and it sounds fucked. Yeah, don't come on here with that fucking attitude. Like, we appreciate y'all. We love all of
Mhm.
y'all. Like, you guys have no idea, like, how much we love y'all. We hit 530 subscribers. We're almost at 700 followers on Instagram. The TikTok is doing better. I'm actually going to dedicate a TikTok to my Cookie Monster, and I'm going to start doing more Captain Mexico content. Um, so we appreciate everyone so much. Like, you guys have no idea. Like, I'm
Yeah,
always listening to you guys, and I'm taking y'all's criticism and input and like advice and all that. But today it's just like not one of those episodes where you just come on and start. Please don't come on the show and start like bringing up like conventions who are going to go unnamed for this one episode only. Like, we're going to break that rule. I know that's a running joke, but today we're going to break that rule. We didn't even break that rule for all the memorial episodes that we've done. We didn't do that. We didn't break that rule for when we did a memorial about Jason. We didn't break that rule when we did the memorial for Kira, but we are going to break that rule today because this is pretty like this is something that's still fresh. People are still going through this, and this is actually a big problem in Hollywood. Like, this is not just isolated to this one studio or to these individuals that were
to
involved.
Nickelodeon. Yeah.
This is actually a problem,
Hmm.
an
And
overall problem.
yeah, and just that, and perfect example. We'll talk about this later, but there's one part of the documentary they brought up another company, and they're actually connected to this whole situation, and it's like, it's the biggest like mind-numbing thing to experience just thinking about it.
Right, and we will address your comments. They're going to
Mhm.
keep showing up on the stream as we go along, but as far as addressing them goes, we will try to address every single one of them. Uh, we are going to talk about the so I just want to put this out there. I
Mhm.
watched it last night, and we were talking about it. I was like, okay, we gotta talk about this. And Sonic was the one that told me you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. You can't half-ass it and like not go in there and not watch it. Okay, this
Yeah.
isn't like the fucking Transformer movies where we just like, all right, yeah, whatever. No, so you got to go and watch it. So I we were on our way to Whataburger, and because my brother wanted food, and I watched a clip. I watched a video from you ever heard of Watch Mojo,
Hmm.
the YouTube channel? So they
Yep.
already had like a top 10 like most shocking things revealed during the docu series, and I watched it, and it was like, what the. And the shit blew my mind. So I'm like, okay, let me get home. and I'll sign up for HBO Max, and I will, or Max or whatever it's called, and I'll watch it, and I'll try to, and I watched the entire thing last night without even realizing two of the episodes were like, I thought two of the episodes were just one long episode, but it turns out it was two. Um, it's so we had heard rumors about because rumors started circulating around 2017.
Mhm.
Then Jeanette McCarthy's book kind of shed some light on it.
Yeah,
There
Jeanette
had been a
McCurdy. Yeah.
sorry, I have like
No, you're
sorry,
fine. It's okay.
so yeah, I got her. The girl that plays Sam, she wrote her book.
Yeah.
I think it
Sam.
was titled "I Wish My
Uh,
Mom Was Dead" or
no,
something like that.
no. She said, I think it's called "I'm Glad My Mother Is Dead."
Yeah, something along those lines. So it's really a heartbreaking
Yeah.
book.
I'm glad my mom died. That's what it's
Right? Yes, that it's. I believe if you haven't read it, they have it audio if you don't
called.
have time to read it, and it's
Yeah.
free
There's
if you're an Amazon Prime member. I believe.
there's an audiobook, and even people on TikTok have like had the audio of her talking, and then they would show clips of of like the scenes they were talking about. You know, that book is really detailed. She goes into her experiences with iCarly. She goes into experiences with Sam and Cat, working with other people, working with Ariana, and it was kind of like in wrestling terms. There's one part I thought, man, she buried Ariana Grande.
Mhm. This is one comment I do want to address real quick.
Mhm.
I want to bash Watch Mojo for this as it comes across as real tasteless, making a top 10 list of the things from the documentary, but at least it's making people. I I can respect your
Mhm.
statement on that one.
It's understandable.
Right. I get it. Like I really do. Like it can come off as tasteless, but it's because of that list what made me realize, okay, I do need to see this because I gotta know what the hell's going on. I need to know the full story. Even then, the docu-series isn't the full story. There's so much left out.
Yeah, there's a
Like the
lot left out.
actor that plays Carly's brother also played Crazy Steve from Drake and
Yeah,
Josh.
Jerry Trainer.
Mm-hmm.
There's video of this too. There was a video I recently saw this on Twitter, and I think also on TikTok, that it was like a behind the scenes footage of Miranda Cosgrove, who plays Carly, and Megan from Drake and Josh. She was getting she was being they were celebrating her birthday. They gave this giant cake and all that stuff. There's a part where she comes over, and then you see, I guess we could just mention Dan Schneider comes up to her, and he was getting really too close to her, and she looked noticeably uncomfortable. And then she was trying to she was trying to be more like, scooting towards Jerry, and Jerry was like, trying to be more protective. He was actually low key a protector, and there was also stories, he would actually go to other shows and be like, "Hey, you guys okay? Everything all right? You guys all right? If you need help, just talk to." He became like an unsung hero in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at that. It's crazy because he played like this obscure, crazy maniac
Yeah,
character in one show, and then he kind of played like
the goofy
the
brother.
the goofy brother. There's like, hey, what do you got there? A smoothie, and it's an ostrich.
Yeah,
And it's crazy to think that this guy played like an actual big brother on set, like protecting the kids from like
any uncomfortable moments, you know what I mean?
it's kind of I don't feel like we say uncomfortable moments, but like honestly, it's a lot of fucking bullshit that they went through. Like not it's not and when people think, oh, they were like they sexualized a lot of these kids, they made them do like the most
Yeah.
uncomfortable
So
shit in the world.
I mean, I guess we could just go ahead and just talk about one of the episodes, like one of the scenes. So one of them was so they were talking to a couple of child actors who played in some of the seasons of All That. So if you're wondering what All That was for people who are like new or have no idea or trying to have a refresher, All That was pretty much Saturday Night Live, but for kids. It was on Nickelodeon there from 1994 all the way to like 2004. And in the documentary, they talked to a couple of child actors who were on All That. One of them, he told a story about like he played a character about like, oh, I play a superhero that has big noses, but the way the costume was designed, apparently it looked like a leotard, and like they have these noses on his shoulders and like in his head or something like that. And the way I didn't at first as a kid, I didn't understand it, but as I look at it now, I was like, yeah, those shoulders do look like dicks.
And which raises a question, like, because they're like, oh, did they do that on purpose or
Was that
like
intentional? Yeah.
yeah, was it intentional or not? Like does it like they don't like and they believe so and it kind there's a lot of evidence that kind of points to yeah, this was done on purpose. Like it was meant to look like that or
Yeah. It was by design. Another great example. One of the writers who worked on the Amanda show, they told a story how when coming up with I don't know for people who watch the Amanda show, in the show, Amanda Bynes plays Amanda, duh. But she also plays as another character called Penelope, who's like this biggest fan, this stalker of Amanda. She's like her biggest fan. So one of the writers says in the documentary that even the name of the Penelope character had to be some sexual thing. And I was like, there's no way y'all really decided to name this character this. So the character's name is Penelope Taint. And this says taint on their last name. And people don't know what the taint is. It's the part between the balls and the asshole. And when Nickelodeon explained it, and when Nickelodeon was like, okay, why you named it this way? Dan allegedly in this documentary, one of the writers claimed that Dan said, whatever you do, don't tell him this. Just say, "Oh, are you saying we're tainting this character or something like as a joke reference?" So it's like, okay, this is a little bit too what the fuck, you know what I mean?
I'm really glad they explained that taint thing because I actually didn't get it.
Yeah, like as a kid, like I said, I think we could all say this all the times. As a kid, you're like, oh, okay. Now it's like, oh,
Well, I've never actually heard. So
I know. It's just like in some
I've
moments, not
never
just
yeah.
yeah,
So I'm glad they explained that because I didn't know. Like okay, I'm like taint. Like I don't get it. But then they explain. I'm like oh that's fucked up.
yeah. Especially it's a young girl having that last name and the joke and all that. I'm like, it's it's just like what the fuck, you know?
What was his name? Dan
Dan Schneider. So Dan
Schneider.
Schneider, I'm sure you heard that name several times already. So a little bit of background. He was creator. He was an executive producer for all that. He created the Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, iCarly, um, Sam and Cat, Victorious, Henry Danger, Game Shake. He's made so many live action sitcom programs on Nickelodeon throughout from the mid 90s all the way into like the 2010s. So this
To
man was
kind
pretty much
of add to what Sonic's did they referred to him as like the golden boy for
he was pretty
Nickelodeon.
much Nickelodeon's golden boy in a way
Right.
because he was the only one making like a bunch of programs coming up with all these ideas and stuff. He also made the show called What I Like About You for the WB or the CW in the mid 2000s, starring Amanda Bynes. So Amanda Bynes is a really big part of this documentary too. So he was making a lot of these programs, and because obviously Nickelodeon's known for the cartoons and all that, but the live action it was mostly done by Dan Schneider and a couple of other people around him.
I'm just trying to catch up, and I'm getting some messages. These are okay. A couple of these are not related to the show. Okay, so he was in. For those of you that don't know what he looks like, if you ever seen the Whataburger movie, he's the manager of the Whataburger. I didn't know that was him. I've heard about him.
Wait, what?
The Dan Schneider. What's how do you say his last name?
Schneider.
Schneider. He was in Whataburger.
Good Burger.
I'm sorry. Fuck.
I was like, what?
He was
Burger?
in
What?
Good Burger. Sorry.
Was
Look,
like,
I'm really tired today.
nah, it's okay.
Good
I was
Burger. It's
like,
Good Burger.
yeah,
Yeah.
Good Burger. I was like,
That was
Whataburger.
not meant to be a fucking joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
I'm
not meant to
sorry.
be a joke.
Yeah,
So
we're sorry.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I started watching the series at 12. I didn't finish until fucking 5 in the morning, and because I missed a lot, I had to keep rewinding certain parts, and I just had to hear certain parts again. And I had to wake up at 7 for work, and then like I have a class to teach, and like, it's been just bullshit all day. And then like today, like oh, there's just so much going on. It's Good Burger. I mean, fucking Good Burger. Um, so it's so as you watch, they talk about Dan Schneider and they talk about how he says like the most inappropriate shit to people, commenting. Like one of the girls, they like the producers called the parents.
Mhm.
They're like, hey, we know so and so. We noticed so and so's gaining some weight. We already have a fat one. We don't need another fat one on the show. That's legitimately what they said.
Yep, that is one of them. They did interview the one of the girls who was in all that, and then they originally they were going to make it like the Amanda show. One of the origin was actually going to star her,
Mm-hmm.
and
But
then
they said she hit puberty
yeah,
and she instantly became like she went from child to adult real quick, and that was a problem with them, a problem with the producers, Dan as well, and so they pretty much replaced her with Amanda Bynes. And it's crazy. Like you go and you watch this, and it's like as they talk about it, as it starts off, they talk about like how he's done this for they talk about like the good things he's done, and like it starts getting progressively darker and darker and darker. And one of the things they talk about is his really inappropriate relationship with Amanda Bynes. Like they were just incredibly close, and it was just very, very uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
Like she was kind of like their Miley Cyrus, I guess I want to say. She was definitely like she was a prodigy. She was good at acting. She got the lines good. She was good body language.
Comedy and all that stuff. Yeah,
All she was like perfect. She was like born for that role. And so like they talk about, and then it's not just with like the children where Dan will say like stupid shit or inappropriate shit.
to
Like it
adults
was
too.
also like the adults too. Like, hey, he would text somebody, hey, I need you to scream like I'm a
Hammer,
slut. Yeah, hammer. Yeah. I was
idiot,
thinking
and
it.
slut.
Yeah. Like, okay, that's like your boss texting you at work. Hey, really loud. I want you to yell hammer. Cool. All right. I'll give you what didn't he offer them money? Like,
Like $300 or something like that, and then like she never. One of the writers did not get that money back. Did not get that money, and then a few weeks later, or like a few months later, Dan is like, "All right, I'll give anybody this amount of money if you do this and all." And then she cracks a joke at him, saying, "Oh, you mean like the money that you owe me?"
oh, so yes, I know exactly. I now remember. So so now you just kind of like jump started my memory.
There you go.
So he says, hey, I'll give you $300 if you eat 2 pints of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And then she did it. She's like, okay, cool. I have half my salary right now. I need the money. I'll do it. She eats the ice cream and throws up. And then like weeks go by and then months go by and he never gave her the money. So they're in an office, they're in a writer's meeting and there's a fly. He's like, hey, I'll give somebody $30 to kill that fly. And then she does it like, oh, hey, I'll just add it to your tab.
Mm-hmm.
And that pissed him off to the point where he called her out and like was like degrading her. Like, are you like questioning my like my integrity, like pay? He said something along those lines, like, are you questioning me, like my authority or my character, or like or the fact that I'm a man of my word, and it pissed him off. And apparently, he would go on the set and like just start yelling at people, degrading them, making them feel like shit. And then like the set would be in a great mood. Everybody's having a good time. Everyone's having fun. They're filming the show. And then here comes Dan. Here comes a storm. Here comes Dan. And everything. As soon as he left,
It's like a tornado.
mood changed. Everyone's miserable.
It's wild, huh?
Yeah, yeah, somebody made a joke of my fuck up. I'm sorry, guys.
Well,
Uh,
Waterburger wouldn't hire him anyway.
I don't want to keep these ones up too long because I don't know if you're okay with me keeping up too long. But like, yeah, so I've heard different stories. Like, obviously, Hollywood has a lot of bad story. Oh, did I click on it by mistake? Yeah, sorry. Uh, there's a lot of bad, horrible stories that come out of like Hollywood sets, movie shows, et cetera, et cetera. Um, there's a lot of stories. Room, like I said, it's out there. We some of it, a lot of it's true, a lot of it's fake, and it's insane to think about. Like this is supposed to, and they talk about it in the docu-series. Like Hollywood is supposed to be like, this is everyone's dream.
Hmm.
This is where this is where people want to go and live the dream. This is supposed to be glitz and glamour and paradise and like you're
The
living the
idea,
dream.
yeah. And then nowadays, people is like, "Oh, Hollywood, where dreams go to die." Sadly, there's a lot of people who've had stories. They say, "Oh, it was my dream to go to Hollywood," but then stuff happened. Now they want to go back home. They don't want to go. They don't want to live there anymore. You know what I mean? It's like those kind of things.
Hmm. And it's not just Hollywood. We're not trying to like change the subject or anything, but like I said, it's not just Hollywood where you hear these stories and horrible things that are going on. You've heard about them about voice acting studios as well. Not going to say which ones, not going to name any, but you do hear stuff about like, oh, they said this, they said that, they treated me this way, they treat me that way. And it seems to be like overall, like in an acting kind of
Yeah.
like, because we have friends that are actors in voice talent or actresses in voice. They act and they do voicing. And they can tell like they've had bad experiences or they've never had to deal with that. It's not the same for not everyone has the same
Mhm.
experience.
Yeah.
Like who was it on this? Like there was a few there were there were some kids like so we talked about all that. We talked about it was like essentially Saturday Night Live for kids.
Hmm.
That's like exactly the way they described it in the docuseries. But like it's insane to think that it's not just like he said this shit about like this actor or actress or this kid or that kid or first off, he was saying like he did say a lot of that awful shit to the kids. And you don't think about it. And then one of the actors, he brought up a good point because they hired him as like as they said in the show, the token black kid, and they made him play like some really fucked up things, skits that like even the mom was like, "Nah, this is fucking coming off as racist."
Yeah, like for example, the Girl Scout skit. Where he's like he's dressed up as a Girl Scout. And he's like, hey, do you want to buy some cookies? Basically, like an illusion of like selling drugs.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, why couldn't they have the role reversed or something like that? You know what I mean? It's like, huh? It's very.
no, that makes sense though. Like, and then like, but as kids, we didn't think. Actually, I've never seen that skit. I never saw the.
I
So
some of
that's
the
like the second generation of all that. I only saw the first.
Yeah, it was like around like season 5 to 6, let's say like 99, 2000, that kind of
Hmm.
era. Like for me, like I mean they even did talk to the ones from like the later seasons of all that. One of them brought up how uh they would do this thing, like it was called an on-air dare, where they would do dares on the TV, like they would be in these tubes and they'd be like, okay, we have to do a dare. What kind of dare? One of them had to be covered in peanut butter, something like
And
that.
yeah, that was
I was like, what the fuck? They really did this?
like who the fuck? Yeah, it's seriously like you're sitting there, you're watching this shit as an adult, and you're like, who the fuck sat there and thought this was a good idea?
Mhm.
Like,
Even
who
e-
sat there?
even as a kid, I was like, why? Why are they doing this? Like, I
Yeah,
get it,
because
it's an on-air dare, but like, does it have to be this? Like, getting peanut butter licked off by dogs? And like, you could even they even showed the clip of like the kid going like, I don't like this. He looked clearly uncomfortable.
that shit made me uncomfortable. I was like, God, this just got weird. Why? Like, I was like, I've never even heard of this show.
On-air dare.
Yeah, I guess that was like later
It's
after, like, because at one point
2004.
Nickelodeon got shitty.
Yeah, that's when like it was like the mid 2000s. There were some shows. So it's like, okay, it was at that point for me. I was like, I was like early teens. I was like in my 11, 12th grade, but 11, 12 years old. But even I was watching some of these episodes. I'm like, man, I don't know. This is kind of weird. This is kind of inappropriate. What the fuck and all that shit.
You know why? Because that was around the time Cartoon Network was killing it with like Toonami and Adult Swim and like their late night. Because you had Ed and Eddie, Johnny Bravo, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Powerpuff Girls. Like this was around the time when those shows started debuting. So
Yeah.
Cartoon Network was killing it back then. So I'm understanding why I never saw this. But even then, I'm like, why is this a thing? Like, you're essentially torturing these damn kids. One of them had a damn scorpion in their mouth.
Yeah, that was the one I was like, what the fuck? They really, what the hell? And it was it's so fucking wild. And no, and keep this in mind, the On Air Dare thing that actually aired around like I actually do remember this. It was around 2003, 2004. So even back then, it was like what 20 years ago. It's still I'm like I still feel uncomfortable watching it.
No, yeah, that was around Cartoon Network's golden age.
I mean, their gold, yeah, but their golden age was like late 90s, early 2000s.
That's what everyone thinks, but like
Yeah, but
their
like
golden age was like 2000 to 2003.
yeah, and 2004 a little bit, with like Foster's and then
Because
a
that's
lot.
when because in the late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, Moltar was still the host of Toonami.
Yeah,
And then it was
97.
Tom.
Yeah, until like 1999. That's when Tom came up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like that when Tom took over, that's when Cartoon Network went into its golden age, and not just Toonami. I mean Cartoon Network as a whole, because we had Mega's XLR. We were getting Justice League Unlimited, Batman the animated series. We got Batman Beyond. We had, like I said, Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Laboratory.
That's from like 1999 all the way up to like 2003, Tom 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that is Cartoon Network's golden age, and that's right around the time Nickelodeon was doing that Dare shit. And like, like as a writer, as a producer, you sit there. These people were literally, this dude Dan was sitting there, legitimately coming up ways to torture these kids.
Yeah. It's fucking wild, all this stuff to come up. But it's not just, and also this documentary was not talking about just Dan Schneider. There was also another guy who worked with Dan Schneider.
If you're gonna talk about who I think you're gonna talk about, let's just talk about him a little bit later.
Okay.
That is its own.
Yeah, that's his own like section about this part, because that part of the documentary just makes you go, Jesus Christ. Like,
that's the one where I reference episode 3 halfway through the episode where I just stop and rewind.
Yeah, because especially episode 3.
You start hearing the story, you start listening, and then it's that one fucking sentence that makes you look up and go like, what the fuck? Because I know people, I'm guilty of this shit too. I will put on a show and I will like do shit in the background and listen to it as I'm doing stuff. And like at that point that you had my undivided attention. You like, I could not believe the shit. Like, and it's like so fucking crazy because the victim was somebody that everybody was calling a piece of shit like a year ago.
I mean, once we get to, we can.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're gonna get to that. But I still want to talk about Dan a little bit. But like, yeah, like, but then, fuck. Yeah, no, technically, yeah, you're right. Batman Beyond was Kids WB, but WB owns Cartoon Network.
Yeah, so they were able to acquire the programming. It's like shows like Batman the Anime Series and Superman the Anime Series, and pretty much like most of those WB programs, they ended up on Cartoon Network, like Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures. Is because at the time WB and was owned by Time Warner. Time Warner also owed other stuff like Cartoon Network, CNN, Court TV, TBS, TNT, which is now has become Warner Bros. Discovery. Which is kind of ironic because this documentary was aired on Investigation Discovery, which is owned by Warner Brothers.
Hey, so the producer, the guy that was working with Mr. Dan, Dan Schneider, the guy that was it the same guy we're about to talk about?
What are we about to talk about?
Remember the guy, I remember the documentary. It was a dude, he was a producer, and he was emailing one of the actresses, the young actresses, and they were like, at first they seemed innocent, but then he sent her like videos and pictures of his junk.
No,
not it's not the same guy, right?
Not the same guy, but that's another guy. That's another.
Well, I kind of let the cat out of the bag with that one. I do apologize, but yes. So that is another thing. You don't realize this stuff, like, because like how do you even put this how do you even put this
It's
into
hard to,
context, into
yeah,
words?
yeah. It's really tough, especially it's a touchy subject,
Right. And it's something that's a problem big time nowadays, but like this is a time when people were still using fucking dial up. People were still using dial up. I remember DSL was not that affordable. Roadrunner was considered the fastest internet that you can get for your home.
Yeah, it was like DSL and all that stuff. And that's like hardwire, you had to use your phone. You can't be on your computer at the same time. And that's kind of that era. And especially later on, they brought up, how easier it was to like walk somewhere without Twitter, without social media, without TMZ and any stuff at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you know, it was a different age, different time, but it's really it still has like an impact, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the point, I guess it's I didn't think I'm an adult now. Like obviously I'm an adult,
Mhm.
but you don't think of like early 2000s. You don't think of dick pics in the early 2000s, right? You think of AOL chat rooms of people. You think of How to Catch a Predator as far as that shit goes, right?
To Catch a Predator, yeah, Chris
Yeah,
Hansen.
and I guess that makes sense now that I really think about it. Now that I put it into context, they were sending each other. Those dudes were sending nudes and pictures of their fucking junk. Like literally,
There was one. I don't know if it's the same. I think it is the same person that they searched his home and they found like baggies that had names of like
that's him. That's him.
yeah,
That's the guy.
that's the guy. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Can we say his name?
I don't know his name. That's why I didn't say it.
Oh, his first name was I think it was Jason, I think.
The pickle
Jason.
guy, right?
No,
Pickle.
not the pickle guy. That's we're gonna save
That
him.
that that. Oh, that's
We're
him.
gonna
Yeah,
save
that's
him.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna
Okay.
save him. So I think it's Jason Handy. I think his name is how ironic his fucking name.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, how fucking ironic that name is. Knowing that what he was doing, because they did bring him up. They brought up how he was a what was it? He would like whenever they'd be on set, he would talk to like some of the actors, anything like that. Because some of them were like one of the child actors was like doing Bible study. They would do Bible studies with each other, and I'm like, oh, red flag. I knew exactly where this is going as soon as she said that. Because not to be all religious or anything, but you know,
yeah, no, you're right. Because anytime somebody does, and I'm not taking a shot at anybody, but anytime
mhm.
they legitimately they legitimately do Bible study, they don't sit there and talk. Oh yeah, we used to go to Bible. No, they only talk about Bible study when some bad shit happens.
Mhm.
Like people do Bible study all the time. People are Christian. People are religious. People are whatever. Right? I'm Catholic. Um, I don't really talk about my religion that much because for one, it's it's my shit, not your shit. Secondly, like I don't really like getting into that subject anyway because
Same.
people like to fight so
Yeah.
fucking much for no fucking reason. Um, like yeah, I mean that's not something that I don't go out there with a bullhorn saying Jesus loves you. Fuck that shit. I do believe that, but I'm not gonna do that crap. And besides, I don't have the same. Anyway, change the subject. I don't want to get into that subject, but like this dude, right? That's what I want to talk about. Like the bags. What the fuck? This guy kept bags with like shit, like underwear, hair, like all kinds of crap, right?
Mhm.
This guy was one mental, like, dude, I don't want to joke about this, but this guy was legitimately one mental breakdown away from like being a serial killer, which messed up. One of the people that we're about to talk about was friends with John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, so that's the big one too. But regarding Jason Handy, so a little bit of background on him. So he worked as a production assistant for Nickelodeon. He was basically a handler for the actors, to keep the parents at a distance so that the creators could do their jobs. Um, he was a lot of parents who like knew him at the time. They thought he was, very sociable, charismatic, gained their trust, through email for future opportunities. Um, so there's one part of the documentary they talk about one of the mom. They talk to one of the moms. They interview uh, who of an actress who had a small role in one of the shows, who had a rather inappropriate interaction with Handy. Uh, she explained that the emails sent were harmless at first. Starts off harmless, but one time sitting through a computer, there was basically a picture of him. He was sending pictures, unsolicited photos, to one of the child actresses, and then obviously they brought up the baggy thing, and it was like, dude, my God, what the hell?
And it's not like, here's the thing about the baggy thing. That was discovered by the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
They found that. No one knew until they raided his ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got a tip saying that he was, they said soliciting or doing something. He was doing inappropriate shit with minors.
Yeah.
And so they went after him. And like, bro, you got to feel for the mom. Like, she cried because she was hard. Because like, how do you like? Because this is like, at the time, this was like, this isn't. I don't know if this was like, I don't even know how to phrase this, but like, this wasn't. I felt like it wasn't very common at all. Like, this is like kind of new because email, like, you got to understand that email at one point, like 25, maybe 30 years ago, was a brand new concept.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. You can send mail or letters electronically through the World Wide Web, and people like lost their shit, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, someone's like, you know what? We can send pictures. So why can't I send a picture of my shit and see if they're interested? And that kind of became the floodgate for something that's actually a big fucking problem today. Now, before somebody takes this out of context, because we do make TikTok clips, we do cut the podcast. We're going to start cutting up the podcast into sections so it's easier to watch when you're on the go. But somebody's going to take this out of context and you're going to like start messaging me death threats like, oh my God, what do you got against people sending dick pics with consent or whatever the fuck, nudes or whatever you want to call them?
I'll be back.
Fuck. Yeah. No, we're not talking about shit sent with consent. That's between you and your whoever behind closed doors. I don't give a fuck. You can send each other nudes. You can send each other memes. You can send each other Linkin Park anime music videos. I don't care. As long as it's between two consenting parties. Now, if you just randomly start messaging somebody with that shit, then you're fucking part of the problem. But like, this dude sent like, and he starts messaging the little girl, the little actress, and I think she's like 10 or something like that. And then like they start chatting, which to me is like already a red flag. I don't know how old he was at the time. He could have been like in his 30s, 40s. I don't fucking care. 20s, I don't care. 20s, 30s, 40s. Why is somebody that age, that old, messaging a 10-year-old? Why are you having a full-on private conversation with a 10-year-old? So in Texas, it is a felony now. It wasn't before, but it is now. And that law was made recently, I think within the last 5 years or so, because that was becoming an issue, especially in the cosplay community. But I don't want to get off track. So he started like, what kind of grown-ass adult? I don't give a fuck. What kind of grown-ass adult has a full-on private conversation with a 10-year-old and wakes up one day and decides, you know what, I think it's fine because we've been talking about My Little Pony and growing up and like gummy bears and like pixie sticks. You know what'd be a good idea? Let me send a dick pic. What kind of shit is that? What the fuck was wrong with Mr. John Handy? Your fucking name is, I guess your name's, it gets part of your fucking name, Handy.
Yeah. And doing some research on him, I found out that in 2003, he did get arrested. So he started interacting with a 14-year-old girl from Michigan with the promises of a Hollywood career. And he flew out to Michigan to meet the girl, where he did inappropriate things to her and invited her to her hotel room. And
I was kind of praying. I'm going to be honest with you, Sonic. I was really hoping the story you were telling was going to end with him he walked into a house and some guy walked around the corner and was like, hey, have a seat. Let me have a talk with you. God fucking damn it, bro. Like, he actually did shit like that. And I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm being legit. I wish like that's what I want. That's how I wanted that fucking story to end, like with him like running into Chris Hansen. He got fucking. You know what's crazy? That shit happens now still.
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of YouTube, there's some couple of YouTubers who do like those kind of sting operations. Some of them they do it for the safety of like children. Unfortunately, there's some who do it for clout and all that stuff. Let's see.
Check the chat.
God.
Yep.
It's fucking gross.
Yep. We can't share that on the channel when we just talked about it, but we can definitely share it in Discord, where everything that's shared in Discord stays in the Discord. It's not really a rule that we implement, but that's just like be cool. Because and the fucked up part about that, just to kind of put it out there, it's 100% true what I just sent you.
Excuse my language, but Jesus,
yeah, we've already been cussing, and so we talked about implementing the new rating. So we're going from a mature rating to a PG-13 rating, where live we can't cuss as much, we can't drop as many F-bombs, we got to like watch our mouths, we can't go out there like just saying whatever we want anymore. We can't stop our guests, but us as hosts, we have to start watching our mouths because we're going for sponsors this year, but we're going to do that rating next week. Like I said, this year has been something else with everything that's been going on. So much has happened. We've had to pivot the show so many times. Deaths, scandals, breaking news, and it's like, and that's why we're talking about this, because it's our duty as a channel to talk about it, to kind of address it, give our thoughts. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna watch the docu-series again because I feel like I missed a lot.
Yeah.
Because I literally I watched all 4 episodes, and I know there was some information that I do not remember. So let's talk about Dan Schneider. Thank you. He has this really inappropriate relationship with Amanda. People are starting to they didn't say it outright, but people believe that he's grooming her.
Mm-hmm.
And it does kind of give off that vibe. People were saying, oh, she was in a hot tub in a bathing suit and he was fully clothed, and that was kind of weird.
That was weird.
That was weird. I don't think that one was as weird as the ones where they're like hugging each other from behind and shit.
Yeah, it was like it was like at one point, like Amanda wanted to like stay away from her parents, but it was kind of like the whole Britney thing with like the whole conservatorship and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like kind of surreal because it's like Amanda was like at one point pretty like big, she was like into like all these movies and all these shows and all that stuff. And it's kind of sad that the parents like, they wanted to get involved in all this stuff, but it's like, you kind of go, oh man, hold
on. Shout out to Arrow 26 Studios. No, but hold on. Just to kind of add to that, Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, guys, I know some people are just joining. If you do want to come on the show, like we have an open mic policy today. Just so the reason why we have this, message me on Instagram, or if you have my private Facebook, go ahead and message me if you want to come on the show. We are limiting who comes on the show ever since that incident with, where we covered that convention.
Yeah.
And somebody decided to show their John Handy, on the fucking live stream.
Jason Handy.
Jason Handy. I'm really bad with names. That's not me trying to be funny. I am legitimately bad with names.
Okay. But yeah, like we said earlier in the documentary, if you want to be part of the show, you gotta at least have some basic knowledge. You can't just come up here and just like,
Hmm.
goofing off and all that stuff, because it's like this is something like I know we're trying to like we're like rambling and stuff, but it's like there's so much stuff, so much information that was coming up in these 4 episodes, and it
I
was
don't
like
know if it's so much rambling. We haven't really rambled that much
I know,
because
but
when we
like
ramble, like
anybody,
we go
I
off
know,
topic.
yeah, but I know, but like anybody can make an assumption. It's like, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about. What are you guys talking about? And I'm like, dude, there's like four. This was like almost an hour each episode. So it was like four
So
hours of all this stuff.
there's a YouTube video that talked about this, and correct me if I'm wrong. And this can be anyone; it doesn't have to just be Sonic. So they talk about the documentary. They talk about like what they got, like what's like accurate and what could have been exaggerated. So they said that the documentary only covers about 40 to 50% of the shit that actually happened.
Yeah, that's a reasonable number. Earlier I did mention how like there's stories that they didn't like bring up in the documentary that before the documentary or during it. And there's
Mhm.
even stories after the documentary came out that people are like coming forward with their stories. There was even one where it's like there was an actress, she was like 14 at a time. She was like in a scene making out with a 30-year-old.
The fuck?
Yeah, I
Was
was
this
like,
in the doc? Was this in the
no,
show?
this was not in the documentary.
Okay, because I was like, did I miss that?
No. And here's another, yeah, and it's like pretty surreal because I don't know if you ever seen that show, The Naked Brothers Band.
Hmm.
You ever seen it?
I've heard of it. I've never seen
You've
it.
heard of it? Okay, so one of the characters who's this female, so she was 14 at the time, and she told the story how like she was pretty much like really uncomfortable with it. Hold on, let me read this thread because she did talk about it on I think it was either on TikTok or on her like Instagram or something like that because um let me explain this because here we go. Let me find it. Okay, here it is. So the actress is her name is Ali D'Amico. She played Rosalina in the show. So I'm just gonna
Hmm.
read it here. In the Nickelodeon's Naked Brothers Band comes forward about her experience being forced to kiss a 30-year-old actor multiple times when she was 14 years old, how Nickelodeon threatened to fire her, and being an outcast on her show. She said she had to kiss the actor who was 30 years old multiple times when she was 14. Ali and her mother complained to the network and producers about not wanting to do it. However, they were disregarded, and Ali was threatened her job if she kept complaining. Ali goes on to say she felt like an outcast because everyone except her knew each other. Naked Brothers Band was a highly nepotistic environment. So that was coming out of her side. But she did post this on TikTok. She was like, she was trying to, give her side of experiences and all that stuff. And yeah, for Arrow 26 Studios, we'll talk about that later because that response is like the most
That was two
BS.
whole
Nope.
episodes.
Huh?
I was just gonna say that was two whole episodes.
No,
Was it?
the newest comment.
Oh, I haven't seen the comment. I was trying to look for the article or.
Yeah. So the one of the comments. So like I said, we'll talk about that because I saw that video and I was like, this is such BS. Like the fact you wait until the documentary airs to make this video. Okay.
Okay, yeah, because I'm in the dark on that one, so someone's gonna
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. So anyway, in the
Before
comments.
we, there's one more thing I want to add to what you said.
Mhm.
Uh, like, when you watch this thing, everyone wanted to speak up. Everybody, like, there was a lot of people that wanted to speak up. They wanted to say something,
Mhm.
and they were afraid of losing their job. Not only losing their jobs, they were afraid they're like, oh, we're gonna get blacklisted. You'll never work in this industry ever again, which had some actual truth to it.
Mhm.
Because Dan Snyder also worked on The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. I did not know that. I
No, he
know
didn't.
this.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't. Okay,
No, the
because they.
guy
I
that
thought.
we'll talk about, yeah,
Oh, he did. Okay, but like these guys worked
like
on
they
like
have a lot
different
of connections
networks.
and all that. Yeah.
They worked on different networks. They worked on different shows. They had so much fucking influence.
Mhm.
And like, there's a reason. If you guys watch this, you'll realize that a lot of these kids who grew up, the victims,
Mhm.
they no longer are they're not in the industry anymore. A lot of
Most
them
of
aren't in there.
most aren't in the industry, either that or they probably had trouble with like the law or their personal life. I know at one point, I don't know, a couple years ago, Amanda Bynes had like an episode. Unfortunately, she had like a mental health issue. Um, and people out there, oh, what's Amanda Bynes doing right now? Actually, a little bit of like, positive thing about is that Amanda Bynes actually recently was looking to become like a nail tech, like, working with nails and, like those kind of things. And she's recently like looking to study for this test, to become like a nail tech so she could, paint nails, style them and all that stuff, which is actually kind of cool to hear, especially after, the last few years she had that rough period.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to it. Before we get to our next subject, like I said, so we will be at Comic Palooza in May. I know this isn't really the episode where to bring stuff like Comic Palooza up, but we have to do it weekly. I guess I could have done it tomorrow. I didn't really think that far ahead, honestly. Because my main focus was today, getting today's show, talking about today's stuff. So yeah, all I'm gonna say is check out Comic Palooza. We will be there this year. It's in May, I think. Uh, I don't know the weekend, but I know you can go to comicpalooza.com right now and just check out their dates, hotels, and badges. I think we have a few more days until they have a price increase. Like I said, I didn't
Yeah,
really prepare our segments for
they
that.
just increased their price last night.
Oh shit! Yeah, we missed it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. So right now it's just a couple of weeks away from convention season's coming up. I know, like we said, this isn't really the good timing for this part, but it's just like, just want to like, ease up a little people, especially, how sensitive these subjects have been the last hour we've talked about this.
all right. So now to talk about the second half of the docu-series.
Yeah. One of them focusing on Drake Bell. And this was the episode 3 was the one that I got really emotional at some point, a little bit emotional. But before you say anything, let me explain why. I will say this. I'll give my thoughts a little bit. I am aware of what Drake Bell was accused of a couple years ago, but based on what he was experiencing, this episode doesn't excuse what he did a few years ago. I'm just gonna flat out just gonna say it right there. All right, just want to let everybody know ahead of time before we talk about this stuff. So I guess this episode 3 was pretty much the Drake Bell episode.
Yeah. So, like Sonic said, watching this episode, I now understand Drake Bell a lot more. I can see where he's coming from now, and I can kind of piece together as to why he. No, I can't. I'm not gonna say that because I don't know why. But I get it. It's kind of like, and this is for wrestling fans out there. If you know, you know. This is a Chris Benoit effect, and not in the same sense, but kind of like past trauma,
yeah,
a lot of things going on, things that affected you mentally, physically, or whatever the case may be, like kind of made you like. For those of you that don't know, Chris Benoit suffered a lot of concussions, and they said he did steroids, and he kind of, for lack of better words, kind of like just lost it, went crazy, and he took the life of his family.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I guess the comparison I'm trying to make is that Drake went through so much shit that I feel like that caused like a lot of psychological damage, and is what made him lose his rational thinking, and he did what he did. I'm not excusing anything he did.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know exactly what he did. Actually, like, I had heard that I thought he had went to jail for a certain crime that I'm not going to say because I don't want to fucking get demonetized by YouTube because their algorithm is so stupid.
Was it like a few years ago, right? Like recent, pretty much recently, right?
Right. He went to
he
court.
Yeah, he went to court for it. So, like I said, that is what I was talking about. Like, okay, what he did recently does not, we can't. That doesn't excuse. There's no excuse for what he did. But what we're talking about in the documentary, you know, you kind of sympathize with him, but at the same time, like I said, we're not gonna like forget that what he did later on.
Right. So, I know the last name is Peck
Mm-hmm.
was
Brian Peck.
Brian Peck. I was like, why
Yeah.
can't I remember the name?
Not related to Josh Peck. We're gonna
Yes,
get that
I
out of the
was.
way because we don't want people thinking, "Oh, Josh, that's the reason Josh has said a thing." No, it's just getting it out there.
Yeah, I was actually just about to make that connection because last night when I heard that name, I'm like, wait, is he related to Josh Peck?
No, I hope to God not.
Right, and I'm glad they're not related because when I first heard that name, they called it what they call him pickle.
The Pickle Man. So he played a character in all that known as the Pickle Man or the Pickle Boy or something like that. He would have like a bunch of pickles, like a plate of them, and wow, pickles, right? You would think. And they showed a scene from all that where one of the guests is stuck in the bathroom, and the pickle boy like is walking nearby. He hears it. He's like, "Oh, I have an idea. Let's stuff." He puts pickles through the door, the hole in the door. So I'm like, "Oh, okay. What an illusion, right?" Um, and knowing that, I was like, "Wow, okay, it's a little too sexualized, I guess."
I missed that part. What the fuck?
Yeah, that really happened.
God damn it! I can't. This is why you shouldn't watch shit late at night. I actually missed that part. I did not catch that part. I remember them saying the pickles look like dicks.
Yeah, the pickles.
And like he was on the show, which is crazy because Dan was also like he turned all that into like Charlie's Angels, where
Mhm.
he's like on the speaker, he's like all that crew, and then like he cuts off and they're calling him God, like legitimately they're calling him like he's a god of like comedy
Yeah, he's a
or
god
some
of
shit.
comedy.
Yeah, and
Ray Romano was the guest. That's right. I forgot that was Ray Romano. So Ray Romano was a guest in all that, and he was stuck in the bathroom. And then the pickle boy, hears it. He puts the pickles through the hole of the door, and it's like, what the fuck? Like looking back, like, what the fuck?
what the fuck? How did this? Who? I wonder if the network executives, the people that check this shit, were like sleeping or like not giving a fuck at the time.
See, it's what I mentioned earlier about one of the characters on the Amanda show with their name. You know, Nickelodeon, like one of the executives was at the writers' meeting, like when they pitched this thing. They're like, okay, so what does that name mean? Is that like a is that a body part reference? They're like, no. Are you saying we're tainting the show or something? Like, make a tainting joke. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like they basically try to like, okay, if they ask this question, say this instead of what it really means.
So they essentially conned the executives and labeled them as buffoons.
Yeah, they kind of like snake through the whole like process.
Yeah, they weaseled their way out of that one.
Yeah.
So Amanda Bynes, she's blowing up. She's becoming a megastar. She's becoming one of the most popular talents ever, be on Nickelodeon. So they're getting ready to start. This is when Drake
Bell
comes into the fold. Drake Bell comes into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on the Amanda show. I know he did other stuff before.
Jerry Maguire. He did like a couple of commercials. He was even the kid in the Pokemon, one of the first Pokemon commercials for the Game Boy.
Yes, he was.
I thought that was kind of cool to see. That I was like, oh yeah, I forgot he was that kid.
I didn't even realize that was him. So like they so Brian sees Drake as this star, like, okay, this kid, okay, this is to kind of sum up a big chunk of the video. He sees Drake, and I think he like kind of like fell in love with Drake on a sexual level.
Low key, yeah.
Not even low key, like
I mean, at the time you would think low key,
yeah,
but then,
low
like,
key.
eventually it got a little too. So, what was a one good example was Drake likes to go to Disneyland. You know, he'd be like, "Hey, well, yeah, me and my friends were gonna go to Disneyland for our birthday," and then like Brian would go with them, right? I believe that's what he said. It was kind of, there was one thing I do remember too. Is like Drake at the time was in a band. He was just having concerts and stuff. He would have concerts like an hour away from LA, or like 2 hours away, like in San Diego or something like that.
Yeah, he said he had a show in San Diego.
Yeah, so it was kind of surreal. So something that suddenly struck me was watching the documentary, was that saying that Brian Peck was a red flag in hindsight was that he would go to all of his concerts to the point of never missing one. Dan Schneider would show up if it was nearby or at a convenient time, but Brian would actually drive 2 hours to San Diego just to make sure he was there whenever Drake was in public. And it was like, it's the most wildest thing ever. Like, okay, this is a little too close. So before we talk further, we mentioned the John Wayne Gacy thing. So this was during all that, like they were having a party. One of the child actors, Kyle Sullivan, who was in one of the actors in all that, he was, around the house. He was trying to look for something, and then he sees this room, like so many like props and stuff, and like all that, and he sees this painting, and he was like, "Oh, that's pretty interesting." Brian comes in. He says, "Oh, you said, he wanted to show off this painting." And he's like, "Yeah, you want to see what's in the back?" And it says to Brian, like a little personalized message. And it was signed by John Wayne Gacy. If you don't know who John Wayne Gacy is, he's a notorious murderer, a child killer, basically. And it was like the creepiest thing looking back, because it's like, dude, this guy just like is like idolizing a murderer in a way, because he was like he was like showing it off. He's like, "Oh, look at this, I drew this. He made this," and it was like, I was like,
wasn't no, I thought it was implied that they actually knew each other, like because
that was another, that was implied.
like because it was a personalized message where he referred to him as like your friend.
Yeah, John
always. Yeah, he referred to him as friend, and like they knew each other on a personal level. How is that not a red flag? How did like, I guess it's a personal belonging. Nobody would have seen it. Like, I guess he would have kept it hidden. Like, only the kids would see it. And like, they don't really know who the fuck that is. I don't know. But as a grown ass adult, if you knew, and that's where I'm thinking, like, God, how could you let somebody get away with some shit like that? But at the same time, I'm like thinking they probably didn't know. Like,
they probably didn't know. I mean, they were kids, They probably didn't know who John Wayne Gacy was, because it was like, I mean, that's understandable. But then, like, if a parent saw that, they'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, no, I agree. He was showing everyone. This is a comment, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He was showing everyone, including the parents. If I was a parent, and I'd be like, no
way,
no fucking way. And I probably look. I probably would have kicked the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm. It's
like, and let's put it out there. Let's. I don't want to. Like I said, we don't want to go too much off topic, but let's put it out there. There are people that idolize John Wayne Gacy,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
There are people that idolize fictional characters like the Joker,
Harley Quinn.
Well, not Harley Quinn as much as like the reason why I say Joker, because Joker's a piece of shit. Where Harley Quinn has kind of changed over time. She's still crazy.
Yeah.
And she's still murderous, but Joker like literally backhanded her whenever she fucked up. And people would always refer to them as the perfect couple. I'm like, no, that's not the perfect couple. Like, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you should go seek a therapist if you think that's the perfect couple.
Right. So there are people that Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, there are people that idolize these people. I remember watching the Netflix show about Jeffrey Dahmer, and people were like sending him nudes and money and all kinds of shit. And like,
I mean, it's kind of not possible because Jeffrey Dahmer died in like 1994.
They were sending like pictures, like the, you know what I'm talking about? Like the little, the camera where it takes the instant picture and it has to like give the
Polaroid.
Polaroid. Thank you. They were sending him Polaroids, which, by the way, has been people do send nude Polaroids. They've been doing it since like the 70s. Apparently.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, it's because a lot of these people didn't know that. Yeah, like I said, he died in jail in 1994. People think he's alive. He's like, no, he's not.
No, he's dead. He's dead.
He's been dead for almost like 30 years now.
Yeah. So He's gone. He's not. He's dead. He's in the ground. Rotting in hell.
Rest in piss. He won't be missed.
Yeah, right. Fuck you, guy. I don't. Uh, but yeah, no. I mean, this guy was friends with him, and then like, did he show it to some of the parents? Was it just the kids,
I
or do
think it
you
was
know?
just the kids, but then the parents like saw it too. I think the parents were one of the ones they found out. Um, so speaking of Brian Peck's house, can we talk about that scene where like um there was some point like Drake wanted like Drake didn't want his party at his place, but then like it was like, oh yeah, you should have it at my place, please, let's have it, or something like that. It was like got a little too creepy.
Yeah. What
Uh,
that and there was one. The dad talked about it where Drake had like a show or something, and Brian randomly showed up with like a group of his friends.
yeah, that was one, and then there was another one about Drake's girlfriend's mom who like saw something like wrong. It was like one of those. She was like the unsung hero in a way, where
Right.
like because there was a part where Drake was telling the story like he was at his girlfriend, I think his girlfriend at the time, at her house, and like he was getting these phone calls in his cell phone, and like he looked at the ID, he's like, nah, I don't want to answer it. I don't want to answer it. I don't. And then suddenly his girlfriend gets a phone call from Brian, and he was like, the mom is like, why the hell are you calling us? Why are you calling and all that stuff, and like basically hanging up and all that stuff. And then at one point Drake didn't want to answer the phone, and like the mom was like, hey, can I talk to you in the kitchen? And then they talk in the kitchen, and she asked him, is how long I think she went, how long has it been going?
Well, no, she asked, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah, is everything okay? Yeah, there you go. Is everything okay?
And
So she was one of the,
he's like, yeah, no, everything's fine.
but she knew.
Dude, she yelled. She
Yeah.
yelled at him. She was like, "No 40-year-old man is going to call and talk to my daughter's boyfriend like that."
Yeah.
Like, because he blew up the
Because
girlfriend's
Drake
phone,
yeah, because Drake didn't answer his calls.
and then he left an angry voice like message,
Mm-hmm. That's
and
what
then
that's it.
when he finally did answer, because the girlfriend answered, because the phone had apparently been ringing like for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said all day or for a couple hours, but apparently it was long enough to where they like, fuck it at this point. And she's like, "Hey, it's for you," and he's like trying to play it off like, "Oh, sorry, I must have double booked," because he's trying not to like give it away that something's wrong. But the mom, like you said, the mom like figured that shit out real quick, because one, he kept calling again over
And
and
again,
over and
yeah.
over and over, and it got to the point where like there is legitimately something wrong. The only person that should be calling you that much is a concerned parent, wondering where the fuck you are because it's 2 in the morning, right? No 40-year-old, 30-year-old, 20-year-old, because these Drake's not even like 13, right? He's
He was
barely
like
13, 14.
15. He was like, yeah, he was
Because
like 15.
they hadn't started the
Drake and
Drake and
Josh.
Josh show.
Yeah.
And
She told so in the comments. So I guess we could bring this part. Can we talk about say these
hmm.
comments? The newest one. Oh
Okay,
yeah, it was
so
yeah.
let's
So
okay, so before we get into that subject, okay, let me just tell you real quick. Check the chat because we can't say that. Oh, you pretty much already know.
mhm.
As long as we don't say that, we're fine.
No, that's not in the comments. It's in the comments where.
No, because we're gonna talk about what happened.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
Because this happened before the phone call incident.
Mhm.
So if you didn't watch the docu-series, and this is from this point forward,
It's
it's gonna
very
be
sensitive
it's gonna get worse. So if you
or
need to leave,
uncomfortable. Yeah,
like we don't like we're not gonna hold it against you. Like we don't give a shit about our ratings this week. We'll worry about the next week. Um, so there's a certain word we can't say because YouTube does not like it.
let's
So
just
we will
say it was.
grape. We have to say grape.
Or you could just say he was SA.
Yeah, I mean you can say sexual assault, but can you?
You could have just said it.
Sorry, no, it's fine.
Nah,
Because
it's fine.
No,
Yeah,
because
it's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
YouTube is strange because you can't say this word, but you can say this word. You can't.
Yeah, it's really weird. People have to like you have to like dodge hoops and shit.
Mhm.
Just like you know.
Um. So Drake had been going over to Brian Peck's house, and there he was going late,
For like, try to get coaches and all that stuff and all that. Like
like
Mexico trip.
1 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said that he woke up and that Brian was on top of him,
Mm-hmm.
assaulting him. And it's crazy because he didn't know what to do. He was
Yeah, he
scared. He
was a
was in
kid,
shock.
Yeah, he was a child. He didn't have a car. He couldn't just call his mom's like, "Hey, this happened. Can you come pick me up?" Unfortunately, he couldn't. It was hard for him.
Right. He did bring that up. He's like, yeah, I can't just call my mom. Hey, mom, the things got weird. Can you come get me? And I'm just sitting outside his house waiting for her to show up to come get me. And he was afraid of losing like his job, so
Mhm.
he didn't say anything. But so he kind of said that he was assaulting him. He briefly went over. He didn't go into detail, right? So we kind of pieced two and two together.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until the police report to where they actually highlight certain words that we realized that this dude took advantage of Drake.
Mhm. And there was one point they interviewed Drake's dad, and there was one point. This is before this came up. Um, because Drake mentioned that when his parents divorced when he was 5 years old, and both they did not like each other. They didn't like get along and all that stuff. At one point, his dad would tell somebody's like, keep him away from Brian. Make sure Drake is away from him. And because at one point, Brian kind of manipulated Drake to the point where he was like telling him, "Oh, you don't need your dad. You don't need him." And it was to the point where his mom would call his dad and tell him, "Oh, he wants to stay here. He wants to be with him. He wants to be here. He doesn't need you anymore," or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And his dad told his mom, "Okay, fine, but on one condition, essentially one condition, make sure Brian stays away from Drake." And the mom didn't do that.
It's so bad because
Mm-hmm.
he Drake only listened to him. He like Sonic said he manipulated him, but he only listened because like this guy works in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's a producer, he's a writer, he's whatever. He has the ins and outs. He knows what's cool. He knows what's how it works, and he trusted him. He believed him, and so he shoved it. His relationship with his father was destroyed. And the dad did not like Brian from the get-go.
He knew
At
some.
first,
He had some bad vibes around him.
right, because he said he was weird, like, oh, this guy's like fucking weird.
Yeah.
In which is okay. So here's the thing: Brian did not single out all the children. He singled out Drake, and because apparently in the general public with the rest of the cast, the other members, so and so, he was a completely different person. He played video games with them. He hung out with them. He would
Took him to
talk to the
Disneyland.
parents,
Yeah.
go to Disneyland. He didn't do with them what he did with Drake, and he got a lot of alone time. He was constantly trying to get alone time with Drake, even making Drake come to his house. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna work at my house, and like Drake, being the naive child he was, like, okay, this is Hollywood, this is how it works. I'm gonna make it in the big time, and the dad's like, okay, let's go, but I'm gonna be with you at all times. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going to be there because he was always like he didn't trust anyone, and he definitely didn't trust Brian. And it's once the dad was out of the picture. If the dad had stayed in the picture, I believe this wouldn't have. I'm not trying to call the mom a bad mom, but the dad knew something like everyone else didn't know because he saw it. And I do believe, and you can get mad at me all you want, but I believe if the dad had stayed, if the dad was still Drake's manager at the time, that never would have happened because he never would have allowed him to stay in his house by himself like that.
Yeah. It's just in a way I feel like Drake's mom to spite him because they, like Drake said, they did not like each other.
Mm.
They had like a nasty divorce and all that stuff, and it's like the mom just let it happen just to spite him.
And Brian took advantage of that because he knew full well
Yeah.
it's bad. It's horrible. Like he knew, he took advantage. He manipulated Drake, and Drake just didn't want to be near him anymore. He avoided him. He like that's what happened with the girlfriend's house incident. That's where it happened. And then, fast forward, uh Brian gets arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the conversation with the dad that was just like really tough to listen to, because he's like, hey, did you hear? He's like, no, what happened? Yeah, Brian, did you hear what happened to Brian? No,
Yeah.
he got arrested. Like, wait,
Yeah.
what do you mean he got
So
arrested?
yeah, so a little bit of background on that. It was kind of interesting because the one thing that like they actually did something about it was, I think Brian was trying to convince Dan Schneider to cast him as Drake's dad in Drake and Josh. And that's pretty much the moment where it was like Drake had to basically tell his mom, okay, this is what's happening to me. This is what Brian is doing. And it was kind of surreal because Drake said he was not provided with therapy or clinical help following the abuse. He does state that Schneider was actually the one person that he remembers being there for him. So that was kind of a little ironic in a way.
Right. So I don't know if they didn't say this in the documentary. I actually looked at. So Drake had revealed what had happened in an unsigned, unnamed letter.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was considered I don't know if it was considered anonymous, but it wasn't linked to him until recently. Like he had come forward, like, because he does say, like, oh, publicly, this is like, he does say this is the first time, because it was the first time, like, he himself came out with it, because they had gotten the police involved. And like you said, Dan was the only I think Dan was one of the few only people that comforted him, because he was one of the few only people that knew it was him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people didn't. A lot of people, like, so people knew that Brian Peck had taken advantage of a child, and so they didn't really know who. And like now it's kind of like, okay, oh shit, it was Drake Bell. Like, what the fuck? And I think Dan was one of the few people that knew, and that's why, because they kind of, and like even then, like the dad, it's so fucking crazy. The dad didn't know right away. At least he, like, because when he calls the dad and explains to him like what happened, the dad's like crying, like, oh my god, thank goodness he didn't get you. Thank the Lord he didn't get you.
Yeah, and then people are like, yeah, about that.
And he's like, and Drake admits that he lied to his dad, like, yeah, because he was already like, they were rekindling their relationship, and this would have broken him as a man. Because the one thing he feared the most, the one thing he was afraid of, the one thing he warned his ex-wife about came, like, the thing that he was afraid of came true, like it came to fruition. And as a parent, like, how the fuck do you deal with that?
It's stressful. It's like a sense where, like, as a parent, you feel like you let your child down,
Yeah, it
and it's like
does. No,
it
you're
takes a
right.
toll on you, like mentally, physically, and emotionally and mentally. It takes a toll on you, like realizing it's like when, yeah, it's a weird comparison, but it's like when you watch your child, crying, but it's something you can't. There's nothing. It's beyond your control. You feel awful. You know what I mean? It's like I know it's a weird. Again, it's a weird comparison, but like kind of like that same vibe in a way. When you drop off your kid for the first time at school, and you see them crying, and it's like, it kind of hurts, kind of breaks your heart a little bit.
Yeah.
But I guess also when speaking about this, I guess we could talk about the courtroom scene.
Yeah, I think that's the next thing we should definitely talk about. Yes.
So so basically when he was in charge and all that stuff, while he was testifying against Peck in the court, Drake remembers Peck's side of the courtroom being full of notable figures in the industry, which is kind of surreal. Some of these actors actually wrote letters in support of Brian Peck. A couple of notable actors. I guess we could just name them because I'll explain why later. A couple of actors, such as Ryder Strong, Ron Melendez, Alan Thicke, Taron Killiam, Will Friedle, I'm sorry if I butchered his name, and James Marsden. Some of them actually wrote letters. They were saying, "Hey, he did nothing wrong. He was great." Basically, they were victim blaming. They were using a lot of victim blaming. And after this documentary, a lot of people were calling for these people's heads. It's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you support a predator like this. I can't believe it. Y'all wrote letters for this guy and all that stuff." However, some of them have come out said that they were fed misinformation and they wouldn't have written them if they knew the full story. Like Will Friedle in his podcast. So if you don't know Will Friedle, he was known for Boy Meets World. He voiced Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. He voiced Ron and Kim Possible. A lot of notable voiceovers.
Just to kind of share, the name of the podcast, I believe, is Boy Meets Podcast.
Yeah, I think it was in 2016. He's talked about it. So anyway, so he said that had he known the full story, he wouldn't have wrote those letters. He regretted it because, like I said, he was fed misinformation. He thought what he was going. So anyway, so although Brian Peck at the time pleaded no contest to 2 charges of child abuse, as sexual abuse, he was sentenced to 16 months in prison and was ordered to register as a sex offender. However, this was news to me. I found out that he ended up getting a job at The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody for Disney, which shocked the hell out of me. I was like, wow, you let this guy who had all this stuff and then you're letting him still work with kids?
It's that Hollywood connection.
Mm-hmm.
That was it's very, hard to imagine what, because they do talk about the shit that Drake did. They talk about, like, he did this. They talk about the things that Amanda Bynes did, that certain other people did, and, like, look, we're not here to excuse the things that they've done, but maybe this psychological trauma contributed to them making these decisions, which I believe could very much be the case. Like I said, I'm not going to say, like, well, he did nothing wrong. That's absolutely not the truth. Drake made a mistake, very big one. But this shit happened to him, and it's kind of hard to talk about, it's not. I watched that clip 5 times. The one where he talked about, because I thought I misheard it.
Mm-hmm.
Where he talks about Brian, where he woke up and Brian was assaulting him, and I kind of and then the police report just added more information to that. Yeah. And it's horrible to imagine what he went through and all that shit. But I do want to address something that y'all talked about earlier, that y'all said something about a YouTube video or something.
Yeah. So after the documentary came out, there was a video that was posted that had on his YouTube channel, Dan Schneider, actually, there's a video. He did an interview basically talking about the Quiet on the Set thing. He responds to the accusations and all that. And already I could already tell this whole thing was kind of, essentially, for lack of a better phrase, bullshit. Because the first starters, they got the person that was interviewing Dan was the actor who played Tebow in iCarly. And I'm like, okay, this is already just throw this fucking thing away. I'm not going to waste 20 minutes watching this thing. Because it's you're basically giving somebody a platform to talk about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So so he speaks out of this thing. So basically, he responds to some of the allegations. He said it was very difficult to watch all 4 episodes of the special. He watched it. He quoted as saying, "Facing my past behavior, some of which are embarrassing, that I regret. I definitely owe people a pretty strong apology. Um, every one of those jokes was written for a kid audience because kids thought they were funny and only funny. Now we have some adults looking back at them 20 years later through the lens, and they're looking at them and they're saying, I don't think that's appropriate for a kid's show. And I have no problem with that. Let's cut these jokes out of the show." He also, in the interview, he refuted the idea that he had complete control over the content that eventually made it to the shows. He would say, "Oh, there were many, many levels of scrutiny." He was pointing out executives, crew members, other adults that could have raised objections. So he basically tried to respond to this whole thing. Oh, I'll be back. Give me a sec.
Yeah, go ahead. I definitely think that it was bullshit. Like, why did he wait until the documentary released to say anything? I feel like maybe he didn't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to excuse him or anything, but it's one of those I don't know, guys. It's one of those. I think he's full of shit, if I had to be completely honest. I think he's full of shit. I think he's full of himself. Now, well, I mean, let me know in the comment section below. Do you think if he apologized to you for all the shit that he put you through, would you accept that apology and forgive him? Let me know in the comments. As far as Brian Peck goes, though, that dude can rot in hell. I'm not even gonna be nice about it. That dude can rot in hell. I know I think he's still alive, right? Is he still alive? Yeah, fuck him. Wait till Sonic comes back. But it looks like there's gonna be more to this docu-series. I think the first 4 episodes were about Nickelodeon. It's gonna be eye-opening to see what they have next. We'll see. Sorry, like I said, I'm tired, man. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It's gonna be interesting to see if they cover anything on Disney. I don't want to think that anything bad happened on Disney or Cartoon Network, but we'll see what happens. I mean, no, there's definitely lots of sets, definitely lots of shows where bad shit happened. We'll just see, but this is definitely not. For those of you that haven't seen the show, it's called Quiet on the Set. It's a docu-series on Max, which was formerly known as HBO Max, or HBO, or the DC network. But it's on Max. It's on the Max app, so you can go and watch it right now. It's only 4 episodes. 2 of the episodes are definitely very hard to watch, considering that they're about Drake Bell. It's about, and there's a lot of stuff. By the way, I would just do your own research. There's a lot of stuff that was not covered in the documentary. That there was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad that was not covered. People trying their best to help the situation, protect others. Other people that made shit worse. Like,
so the documentary, I think so far they're only doing 4. I think they've only done 4 episodes because the way they ended the last one, it pretty much said they probably are not going to do it anymore. But I could see them doing more. I don't know. Would they do more? So far, just 4.
I did mention while you were gone that, like,
sorry.
No. I was actually going to tell you. I wanted to share with you that I was actually talking about that very thing. Where, like, I think the first 4 episodes are about Nickelodeon, and then we'll see what else they cover. Yeah. I don't want them to. I hope they don't have to cover anything with Disney or Cartoon Network. But I know there's lots of other studios.
I feel like they will, because it's not. This isn't just about Nickelodeon, because the title said "Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV." It's not just. It doesn't say the dark side of Nickelodeon or the dark side of it. It says, it could be kids TV, so it could Disney or Cartoon Network could be next.
Or Barney or Sesame Street.
Anybody. No, yeah. It's like, especially for us, just watching it, it's just like there was a lot of things that made me go. I'll say this: as a kid, there were some episodes of most of these shows I was not a fan of. I didn't like
Mhm.
some of these, and I'm like, who who wrote this? What the hell's going on? Hell, even as a kid, I was like, what's with all these like scenes with feet? Like, what is up with all this stuff?
Even the logo was a foot.
Yeah, but it's like not related to Dan Schneider. Just give a heads up because a lot of people are like, although coincidence, bad timing, but still,
Really?
like,
Okay, I thought it
yeah,
was. Okay, so it's just a coincidence.
yeah, it's just a coincidence that the Nickelodeon Studios logo had a giant
So,
foot. I'm like,
I mean,
hmm.
did he have a foot fetish, or was that like one of the other writers?
It's kind of heavily implied he had a foot fetish because like there's a lot of scenes on some of these shows that like there's one scene of doctors like rubbing their feet. It's like, oh, this is really soft, and I'm like, what
That's
the
weird. That's fucking
that is
weird.
fucking weird.
That is
And
fucking
there's a
weird.
scene where it's like one of the characters like, oh, why don't you hit me with a sausage? And I'm like, hold up, hey, okay, well, hold on, oh, come
Oh,
on, man.
like
Yeah, and
yeah,
there was another one. I don't know. They showed like a brief scene from Victorious where like one of the teachers like shooting like some fucking lotion at this person's face so fucking hard it looked like, you know, like a, a cum shot, I guess.
I didn't want to make the joke on the stream, but yeah, if you know, you know.
Yeah, no. But and it's like hell, like there's even like old tweets and old Facebook posts from like these shows. It's like there was one, it was like, oh hey, Ariana, would you name your toes different names, tag us and see what you name your toe. And they show a picture of like one of the actors holding a bottle of ketchup and one of the other one like showing their feet. I'm like, what the fuck, like this is still up.
Yeah, there was something going on with the whole fucking feet thing.
Yeah, and it's like, and there was like one part, it was like they were showing there was like a lot of like like sexual innuendos.
Hey,
And
check out the chat.
um hold on, let's see.
Not our chat.
Yeah, yes, that's it. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, he has his own stories.
So yeah,
Exactly. That one comment, that is exactly what, no, not this one. Yeah, this is Ricky Garcia from the Disney Channel. He has his own stories. He's come out with his own stories of the abuse he was facing. But the other comment, yes, that no, not the other one, the
this
newest
one.
one. That is real. That's a real post. It's actually out there on Facebook and Twitter. This is a real thing. 10 years ago, there's an actual tweet for the Salmon Cat show, Salmon Cat, asking kids to write on and post pictures of their feet.
Okay. Nope.
That is a real thing. We're not,
That's
it's
a
not a
big red
joke.
flag.
It's not a joke. We're not joking. We didn't make this shit up. This is real.
It's weird, right? Because I was watching Victorious and they kind of the one goth chick,
Yeah, Jade.
they kind of low-key sexualized her.
Yeah. And she was like, looking back, I was like, she was kind of like abusive and shit.
Yeah.
She was like a dick to like her boyfriend and all that shit, and like being a dick to everybody. And it's like,
they like a lot and I'm trying to think of shows that just kind of like were inappropriate at times and we never caught it. Like Zoe 101 is definitely one.
yeah, that was made by Dan Schneider.
He had nothing to do with.
No, he created the show.
No. He had nothing to do with the school survivor nasty classified school survivor guy.
No, he didn't know.
Because
But
like I was watching that and it does not, like, that show is so different from the others.
It's cleaner.
It's funny. Like the jokes age beautifully.
Yeah.
It's like I love it. And like there's nothing about fucking feet in it.
Yeah. But I will say though, after this documentary came out, the cast of Nessie Classified, you know, they do a podcast and all stuff.
Yeah, I watched.
They were making inappropriate jokes about the whole thing, and like to the point it was like very tone deaf. It was really stupid to the point where one of the actors had to come out. I was like, "Oh yeah, we're sorry. It was stupid of us to do that. That was really stupid of us. We understand. You know, we support the people and all that and everything."
Who wrote that show? Was it the guy that plays the dad in Fairy Odd Parents?
He just plays the janitor, Gordy.
Because he even like played they even had a crossover with the
Fairly Odd Parents because the creator of Nessie Classified worked on Fairly Odd Parents. He was one of the writers. He was one of the writers of Fairly Odd Parents. He worked on He was the creator of Johnny Test. He was also the creator of Big Time Rush.
Do you think at some point at Nickelodeon, you're a writer, right? And you hear this shit, like people talk, they
Yeah,
talk around the water cooler. You
yeah.
think there were like, you can tell, right? You can tell, like, some of the shows, like, Dan's not, he has no fucking hand in them. Like, there like there's some other shows that are actually kind of funny, kind of good.
Hmm.
And like, do you think they purposely, like, hey, don't bring that guy around here? Like,
I'm sure they did, but I've heard stories that ever since this whole thing have come out that it was like a couple of actors had experiences of shows that had nothing to do with Dan.
mhm.
There was one. It was like I forgot what it was. It was really like kind of fucking surreal. It was. Let's see. Trying to remember. Trying to find it here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So there was a show on Nickelodeon that came out like in 2013, 2014 called The Haunted Hathaways. And one of the actresses, she came forward recently about when Nickelodeon sent computers to production to the show. The computers that they used to produce the show had CP on it
Remind me again with CP.
in the chat.
Oh no, you didn't have to. Okay, it took me a minute. Holy shit, no, you're fucking kidding me. I realized that before you told me what it was. Holy fuck, you're kidding. Oh my fucking
Yeah,
god.
like she actually posted this, and her name is Amber Frank. She was an actress. She worked on a show called The Haunted Hathaways on Nickelodeon, and this was 10 years ago.
So, oh, god damn it. The reason why I didn't catch on at first, because when you said that, I was thinking of like a software, like a webcam that spies on you.
No, no, apparently the computers were full of CP. Trisky, oh boy, did I watch Quiet on Set, and I have thoughts on it.
I think we all do.
We have
The
trust me.
entire internet has been blowing up.
Yeah, this and rightfully so because this was something that it's like as a kid you watch these shows, but then like I said, as an adult, you kind of like, Jesus Christ, that these kids have to go through.
Mhm.
And it's like even some episodes where it's like, oh, it's not inappropriate or anything, but there's some like a little bit of weirdness, like overtones. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of like, okay, what the fuck is this like implying? I don't know if you remember this iCarly episode, Goku. Do you remember the episode where they had that YouTuber Fred in it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah, and then Freddie gets canceled because of it because he said Fred wasn't fucking funny, and then
yeah,
he got all this abuse and shit.
yeah.
And even as a kid, I was like, what the fuck? And it's like, and the way they wrote it was that like, oh, the guy Fred was like, oh yeah, I didn't say anything. I did this on purpose because it was for clout. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I think that's when a lot of us
Kind of
like
open our eyes.
discovered, yeah, opened our and discovered clout for the first time.
What should I do with all the Nickelodeon merch?
I
That
mean,
depends. What
keep it.
Nickelodeon merch do you have?
If it's a foot, get rid of it.
It's a foot. Nah, I'm sorry we're making jokes. I'm sorry. We're sorry. We really are. It's just
No, I'm dead serious. To get rid of the fucking foot. No, I'm like, that sounds like a joke, but like, I mean, if that's your thing, cool. I don't even know where to go with that because I'm trying not to make it into a joke. But Jesus fucking Christ, I can't watch Nickelodeon shit again.
it's hard to watch it now. It is. And
What?
it's kind of surreal that
So, but I do want to add real quick.
yeah.
So keep in mind that Dan was the golden boy of Nickelodeon. Now, that doesn't mean he helped create, write, or had a hand in everything Nickelodeon did.
Yeah,
Rocco's Modern Life, Doug,
Doug, Rugrats,
Ren and Stimpy.
yeah, and basically he wasn't an animation. He wasn't with animation.
Right. Ren and Stimpy was already fucked up as it was. But
Yeah, and then there's another story we could talk about the creator and all the fucking shit with Ren and Stimpy. There's a documentary about it that's on Pluto streaming for free, and there's a Ren and Stimpy. It's a really good documentary, and it talks about a lot of stuff about Ren and Stimpy, like the conflicts behind the scenes, and like the whole history of it. It's kind of fucking wild, and it's like for me, I can't. Like I can understand why people feel uncomfortable watching Ren and Stimpy, not because of the jokes and all this stuff, but knowing what happens behind the scenes.
right. So let's put it out there real quick because people are misinformed. There are two versions of Ren and Stimpy. There's the
Yeah.
original Nickelodeon child friendly, ish
yeah,
Ren and Stimpy, and then there's the Spike
adult.
TV, right?
Yeah, the Spike TV TNN adult version, which is called the Adult Party Cartoon. And I'm just gonna address this right now. I am so fucking sick of people using that scene from the Adult Party Cartoon of Ren using the saw thing, the humping thing, and the people say, "Oh, this was on Nickelodeon." No, it fucking wasn't. It wasn't on fucking Nickelodeon. Use your fucking brain and use your research.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
saw
sorry.
that scene.
I'm venting right now a little bit. I'm sorry. It's just I'm so sick of people fucking using that. It's like, oh, Nickelodeon. How did Nickelodeon get away? It wasn't Nickelodeon. It was TNN. And before
So I
anybody said,
saw that. I
yeah,
saw that scene,
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about. And
yeah,
people were saying that exact same thing. And I was thinking to
yeah,
myself, there's no way.
yeah. Like first
There's
off, the
no way
animation
this was
is
on. Yeah.
modern, and it was like, no, it was on the Spike TV version. It's the one that Nickelodeon doesn't even want to acknowledge anymore. That's why people
Because it
said,
sucked.
yeah, it's not only it sucked, that it kind of like they wanted to do a Ren and Stimpy like short for like a movie or something like that, and Nickelodeon's like, yeah, we don't want nothing to do with it.
You know what it was? They were trying to, because they had Stripperella and like Ren
Gary
and
the Right.
Stimpy.
Yeah, they were trying to be like South Park, but in a way. But it's
Yes.
like it's that is an example of like, okay, this is why some of these creators are kept on a short leash, because if you put them in a long leash, it comes out
You
like
get
that.
Ren and Stimpy.
You get the adult Ren and Stimpy.
You get the yeah, get the adult Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, no, you nailed it though, bro. Like I couldn't have put it better. Like you completely nailed it on the head, and I agree with you. They are trying way too hard to be South Park, and that's really, really what it comes down to.
Yeah, at least South Park, for them, they fucking are like
Uh,
they're aware, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Which is kind of ironic.
Also,
Yeah.
just I guess you would be the person that would know. He didn't have a hand in. So Keenan and Kel, he didn't have anything to do
Nah,
with.
that was a spinoff. Yeah, it was a
Mhm.
spinoff from all that, but like different
He
different
was
studio.
accused of racism too, by the way, guys.
Yeah, there was a lot of like even watching it now, it's like, okay, there's a lot that's fucking that's clearly racist. Like what the fuck?
Even though he did he help write Good Burger?
I think he was one of the like I think he was just a producer for Good Burger. Let me look it up because I know he didn't direct it, nor did he
Write it.
yeah, no, he did write it.
He wrote it,
Yeah, he was one of the writers.
but
Uh
they kept his ass on a short leash.
Probably did because there was 3 writers for the show. Um and the director was one of the co-creator of all that.
So I'm thinking that this might have been right around the time, because Keenan and Kel were a part of all that before he took over as the head writer. Or was he a writer when they were there?
No, Dan Schneider was one of the guys who started. He was one of the writers for when the show started.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't the creator. He was just like a producer.
He was just a
basically.
writer. He was
Writer
he was a writer. He didn't even have a headset at first. Put it like that.
Yeah, he was an executive producer in a way. Nobody talks about the Nick Cannon show and Latoya. Yeah, and actually, speaking of, there was somebody I saw this on a Facebook post recently. They were like, how come some actors like Victoria Justice or Keaton Thompson or anybody else, some of these people who were in Dance Center, so how come they aren't talking about it now? And for me, I think there's a couple of theories. One of them could be maybe they probably had it to sign an NDA. They probably accepted the hush money. That's that's a theory. You know what I mean?
I think Keenan and Kel branched out of there before Dan like really came
got
out of
into
his
it.
shell.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, at one point he was still in his shell because he was just a bullshit writer, right?
Yeah, he was still writing. Yeah,
He was still writing. He didn't have that much. But then eventually, as he starts getting power, so if you watch the documentary, when he starts getting more and more power, Keenan and Kel had already branched out into like their own show.
Yeah.
Which, now that I kind of look at it, Drake and Josh was kind of like Keenan and Kel.
Yeah.
But there are live action shows, there are animation shows that he did not have a hand in. He didn't touch. Was there still abuse on set? Possibly. But like I've been watching the Ned's Declassified podcast, and like they have some
Insane stories.
They have some insane stories that, like, when I was like, well, obviously they were older. They were like 15, 16 when they filmed the show. And so they were doing shit like that. Like the actor and actress who played Mose and Ned actually dated in real life. And she talked about like blowing him on set or something like that, or in a back room or something like that. I learned a lot watching their podcast. Some things I didn't want to know. Some things I never wanted to hear come out of their mouths. Uh, no, it was not. It was made by someone else. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up, guys. Let us know in the comment section. Okay, do me a favor for those of you that are here. Can y'all, those of you that are watching on the YouTube, can you guys give the video a thumbs up, please? Can y'all give it a thumbs up? Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, so it tells us right now that a lot of our people that watch the show are not subscribed. So do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up so more people can see our shit.
Yeah. And then we want to give a small message, but one last message about this whole thing. Well, first off, was Netsy classified as Snyder show? No, he wasn't. No, it wasn't. Just want to clear that out already. I know this was a really touchy subject to talk about all this stuff. I know we were like, going through different parts of the whole documentary, but at the end of the day, we just wanted to like fully just explain our side of what we watched those 4 episodes and like the stories that came out. I know it was a really sensitive topic. It's really sensitive for a lot of people out there. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this on demand, like, later on, just know that we wanted to do our best, like not to try not to make and also like not try to make people uncomfortable or anything like that. I just want to say, for anybody out there, if you're in a rough place, there's always help out there. And then also hopefully, we hopefully next, the next time you see us, we get to like, go back to our normal selves, back to our, jokey self. We talk about the good, the bad, and the in between of, current pop culture.
That's right. Tomorrow's episode of the Shit Talk podcast, we'll be back to the status quo. We will go back to our lighthearted, shit talking, jokey, throwing shade at a certain convention in Houston.
Back to our usual shtick.
That's our usual stick. Like I said, it's a running joke.
Yeah, but also, yeah, like obviously next week we're gonna talk about other stuff. I know that some conventions are happening this weekend. I know we were originally going to talk about a convention that happened recently. We're hoping to do that probably next week.
And shout out to the person that unsubscribed to our channel. Thanks.
Shout out to the person who unsubscribed to our channel, and then we gained 2 more after that.
Yeah, for real. We've been gaining, like, thank you guys so much. We appreciate y'all so much. And we're going to hit, we are on the hill to 1,000. I was going to say 1 mil. That's not possible. At least not this year.
Not yet. We'll keep going.
But we're going to go for 1,000. How about that? We're going to go for 1,000.
Yeah.
Shout out to the video. Shout out to the person that unsubscribed and gave us a thumbs down. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
I guess we covered I guess they might be a Dan Schneider fan. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. Maybe we don't know. Maybe. But anyway,
plug in your socials.
Yeah. So just follow me. I'm Keyblade Sonic. That's most of my stuff. I have a link tree. Follow me on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel. I recently did a couple of videos. I did a couple of shorts and all that stuff. Also, again, I have a link tree. That's where you can find all my socials. Mostly it's on my YouTube, usually on the descriptions, all that stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my socials. And Goku, how about you?
All right. So if you haven't already, like I said, give us that thumbs up because that helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Why? Because it's full of crap. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because it lets us know that 70% of the people that watch this show are not actually subscribed to our YouTube channel, but it could be taken into account like the Twitch numbers, so that might be it.
Mhm.
So make sure you subscribe, ring-a-ling the ding-a-ling button so you can be notified every time we go live. We go live every Monday and Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do our regular show, the Geeks 5 Ever Show, on Mondays. We do interviews, reviews of conventions, discussions, and
Yep.
the occasional throwing shade at certain convention.
Yeah, we don't.
sports
They don't.
convention.
They don't call us the voice of the voiceless for a reason,
The
because
voice.
we're essentially the voices of the voiceless, and we and also, like we said, we break down the good, the bad, and the in between of all things geek and nerd culture.
That's
And
right. We
speak.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then speaking of, for the wrestling fans out there, remember we have our big WrestleMania watch party, also our pre-show podcast, I guess, in a way.
Yes, that's right. April 6th and 7th, Geeks 5 Ever, the Fusion Ha podcast at the Big City Wings at the marquee location. Our pre show, we're going to cover everything: rumors, stories,
Predictions.
predictions. Will Roman Reigns finally come out on top? And will The Rock be all powerful and supreme and defeat Cody Rhodes? Or will it finally happen? Will it
The
finally
story.
be true? Will it finally be complete? Will Cody Rhodes finally
finish the story.
finish his story? Or it could end with The Rock saying "fuck your story" and he pins him 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so, and also follow us on Discord. Our Discord, we plug in a lot of stuff. We just have a good time in there. If there's anything we want to, only on the Discord. So check out our Discord, because it is very basically it's like an expansion of our show.
It is. We share stories, we share info, we share inside stories. So that's why we have a lot of the whole "if you know, you know." Because there's certain things we can't talk about on the show. Not that it's like bad, but it's just like, hey, did you hear did you hear Homeboy's new nickname is Waffle Stomper? Like, why? Why do you think somebody would be called Waffle Stomper?
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Hint, hint, hint. Shit joke. All right, so make sure you follow us on the Instagram. Make sure you join us on Discord. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. We were going to talk about Pornhub, but we're just going to drop the subject. It's pretty much like dead. Nobody cares.
We moved on real fast.
But we'll talk about the VPNs. This episode of the Geeks Fiber podcast is brought to you by Nerfshark VPN. For all your Pornhub needs, go to that VPN service, because they'll actually. No, I think it works. I don't know. I was just making a Wrestle Talk. I was making fun of them. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure you follow Sonic. Make sure you follow us. We will see you tomorrow at 7. If you have an idea for the subject that you want us to talk about, let us know. We are arranging some guests to come on the show. But until then, everyone have a good night. Stay classy.
See y'all next time.